Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we're going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Miguel was the new Miyagi-Do captain during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? So in this timeline, the events of Cobra Kai Season 6 would still happen, Miyagi-Do would still make it to the Seikai Taikai, and they would be surprised to see Kreese and Cobra Kai there, and they would be heartbroken to see Tori and Cobra Kai. The Seikai Taikai would continue, Robbie would still want to talk to Tori, but Tori still wouldn't want to talk to the Miyagi-Dos. Quan would still be challenging the other dojos to a kicking competition, and Robbie would still accept Quan's challenge, so those events would stay the same. Eventually the Captain's War Challenge would begin, Miyagi-Do would be on defense, and they would still be doing Protect the Egg, but Tori and Quan would still want to go after the Miyagi-Dos. Quan would still go after Robbie, and Robbie and Quan would still fight. Devin and Dimitri would still go down. Robbie would still be distracted by Tori, so Quan would still take Robbie down, and Miyagi-Do would be out. So only the Cobra Kais and the Iron Dragons would remain. The rest of the Iron Dragons would still walk off, and Zara and Axel would be left to fight the Cobra Kais. Zara and Axel will still take down Quan and Tori, so the Iron Dragons would win. The Seikai Taikai would continue. Miyagi-Do would still have to knock the other dojo off the platform, but Miyagi-Do wouldn't do so well. Johnny would still be disappointed in his students, but the Miyagi-Do students wouldn't want to listen to Johnny. Miguel would still confront Robbie. He would still say that he was blowing his chance to be captain, and in this timeline, Robbie would agree with Miguel, so he would give Miguel the captain's headband, and those events would carry on. The Miyagi-Dos would be surprised to see Miguel wearing the captain's headband. Robbie would say that Miguel deserved to be captain, and that Miguel hasn't lost a single match. He would say that he was distracted with Tori being in Cobra Kai, so he was choosing to step down. Johnny would ask Robbie if he was sure about this, and Robbie would say that he was. Miyagi-Do would still have to fight out Dublin Thunder. Sam and Miguel would start off, and they would manage to knock down some of their opponents. Eventually Sam would be caught off guard, and she would be knocked down, so Devin would join Miguel. Miguel and Devin would take down some of their opponents, but Devin would still sacrifice herself to save Miguel, so Hawk would join Miguel on the platform. They would use a combination of offense and defense to take down their opponents, and in this timeline, Miguel and Hawk would win. And much like in the original timeline, Carmen would still be rushed to the hospital, and Johnny and Miguel would have to leave. But since Miguel was just made captain, Miguel would choose to stay in Barcelona, and those events would continue. And Miguel would still be worried about Carmen. The Miyagi-Dos would still explore Barcelona. Miguel and Sam would go off on their own, so Sam wouldn't run into Axel in this timeline. The Cobra Kais and the Miyagi-Dos would still have their rivalry, and Quan would make fun of Robbie because he was no longer captain. Eventually Johnny would come back to Barcelona, and since Miguel never left, Kenny wouldn't join Miyagi-Do. Miyagi-Do would still fight Furia de Pantera. Dimitri would still start off, and he still wouldn't be doing so well. So in this timeline, Dimitri would tag in Hawk. Hawk would continue the fight, and he would get a point, and Hawk would tag in Sam. Sam would continue fighting, and she would still get a point, so Sam would tag in Devin. Devin would continue fighting, but Furia de Pantera would get a point on Devin, so Devin would tag in Miguel, and Miguel would get the final point. So Miyagi-Do would beat Furia de Pantera 3-1 in this timeline. And during the next team match, Miyagi-Do would fight Redentores. Miguel would start off, and he would tag in Hawk, and Hawk would land the first point, and he would tag in Dimitri. Dimitri would continue the fight, and he would get the second point, and eventually he would tag in Robbie. Robbie would continue to fight, and he would get the final point, so Miyagi-Do would beat Redentores in this timeline, and they would still advance in their matches. So Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai wouldn't face off. The Seikai Taikai would continue. Cobra Kai would still fight Tiger Strike, but in this timeline, Cobra Kai would be focused, and they would beat Tiger Strike, so both Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai would make it to the semifinals. Season 6 would continue. The semifinals would begin. Quan and Diego would still fight, but Quan would still defeat him. Zara and Maria would fight, but Zara would still defeat Maria. Axel would fight Miguel in the semifinals, so the fight would begin, and he would use his offense against Miguel. Miguel would try using his defense, but Axel would get through it, and he would manage to land some points on Miguel. Miguel would get mad, and he would get more aggressive, and he would manage to land a point on Axel, but eventually the time would run out, and Axel would defeat Miguel. Sam and Tori would fight, and they would both use a combination of offense and defense. The match would be close, so in this timeline, Tori would defeat Sam, so she would advance to the finals. Quan and Axel would fight, but Axel would be more defensive in this fight, and he would knock down Quan. Quan would get even more mad, and he would try to go for Axel's head, but Axel would block his attack. Axel would land some points on Quan, and he would defeat him. Zara would fight Tori. Zara would be aggressive, and she would land some points on Tori. Tori would be using a combination of offense and defense. She would manage to land a point on Zara, so Zara would get more aggressive, and she would defeat Tori. So the Iron Dragons would win, Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai would go home in defeat, Sensei Kim and her students would go back to Korea, and Tori would go back to the valley. Even though Miyagi-Do lost, Miyagi-Do would remain open, and Tori would rejoin Miyagi-Do, and things would be peaceful in the valley. And that is where I'm going to end this what if. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Miguel was the new Miyagi-Do captain during the events of Cobra Kai Season 6? Let me know in the comments below. YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And I'll see you guys next time.